For Off the Block on Vane Lopes, and we are now joined by Loyola men's volleyball coach Mark Hulse as he is getting his team ready for the 2017 season. Coach, you've had an opportunity to play in some preseason tournaments the last couple of weeks. How would you assess your team's performance so far this preseason?
Yeah, I think so far so good. We're growing. We're learning a lot. I think we're learning a lot about ourselves, about looking inward, looking outward. It's definitely a process. And I think we've been we've been looking at it that way, which is smart. I think the way to do it. And so we've been kind of piecing it together. I think learning a lot. Like I said, but it's going real well.
And talking about that, what do you feel as a coach has been the biggest thing you've learned about your team through these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of it has been, personnel-wise. You're always a different group than the group you were last year, I think, in college sports. But there's some really good position battles going on. So that being guys like Peter Hunt, Nick Olson, who've been around for a little while. By graduating, that opens up some positions that have maybe kind of been locked down for a couple of years. And so we're really learning about our guys. I think about ourselves as coaches for sure, as we go and kind of which buttons to push and who pushes which buttons better and stuff like that. But really, the guys are, I think, learning a lot about themselves as volleyball players and as competitors and as young guys. And it's a really fun environment right now in the practice gym and really, and the Norville Center and our facilities in general. So there's a lot of good growth and competition going on.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you have some good players coming back, but also, as you mentioned, lost a few really big seniors. So who are some of the players who you think might be replacing those key seniors that you lost in your starting lineup this upcoming season?
Sure. I think the center thing, that's the question we're going to get the most. Peter Hunt was a 4-year guy, and won a couple and all of that. Right now, it's Dane LeClaire is kind of battling that with Ian Cowan, and those two guys are the setters on the roster. So that's maybe the question we get the most, and that's a fun one. And I don't know. It's a competition and stuff like that in the practice gym. But I think the most important thing, and the guys have done a really good job realizing this, be it the setters or anyone else, is hey, that's the carrot. Everybody wants to start, but that's maybe not the important part. The important part is getting better each day and making sure we're progressing and learning new things and challenging ourselves. And everybody wants to start, and that's great. That's a good carrot, but I think we've done a good job of embracing kind of the process at the same time. So it's been a rewarding preseason in that regard, for sure.
Well, Coach, one-star fans know you have returning as Jeff Jendrick. And I know last season he was putting up, especially the second half, just big offensive and defensive numbers. Can you just talk about his development this preseason? And is there any aspect of his game that you think that he's been able to improve upon since we last saw him in April?
Yeah, sure. And Jeff got to spend the summer, really the vast majority of it out in Anaheim. Now, the senior team was pretty busy. I think that roster was pretty tight and maybe kind of secluded from the rest of the gym a little bit, with the Olympics where they were in the quad. But he got to spend time out in Anaheim, which is good for him, playing against some big boys. And, he's continued to grow. I think he's taken on a much stronger leadership role within the team. He's always been a good voice, but I think his voice is even louder and more kind of out front of late, which is awesome for him. And that's a lot of guys in his class. And really across the team, there's a lot of really good, important voices. Be it old guys, young guys, and everything in between, and they're doing a really nice job of kind of stepping in and doing things the right way and making sure people see him doing it. And Jeff is definitely one of those guys.
And Coach, for you in particular, this is really your first full preseason as a head coach with Loyola. I know last year you came in, a week or two of the season after Shane left. So what has been the biggest adjustment for you as an assistant coach to a head coach and coaching your team during the preseason?
Sure, yeah. I think we're getting to kind of take a step back and making sure we're looking at it kind of as a journey, as kind of a big linear process and maybe being as thoughtful as we can about how we're structuring, not just day by day or even week by week, but, the full 4 or 5 week training period, that's, our proper preseason. And what are we trying to accomplish? Let's make sure we're trying to kind of be thoughtful and mindful about how we're progressing and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get better at. And I feel like we, the me and the guys included, because they're a big part of that process of figuring that stuff out. Everyone's on board with a pretty good, again, kind of concrete plan of what we want to do, what we want to be good at, who that makes us, and kind of where that's going to take us. So it's been fun in that regard to really kind of have our hands pretty deep in the clay, so to speak.
Well, Coach, not only looking at your team, but looking at the conference as a whole, the MIVA has won the last 3 NCAA championships. You got Ohio State returning a lot of players. You guys are reloaded. Lewis, I just want to ask you, how strong do you think this conference could be in 2017?
I think pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Obviously, Ohio State is maybe out in front by virtue of what they did last year, but they know what we knew a couple years ago is you're not defending the championship. No one can take it from you. You already won it. So it's a new trophy that we're all kind of fighting over, and I think our conference looks pretty good. Men's volleyball, there's only so many of us, and so we in preseason we all go out and play each other a little bit, which I think on the women's side would be kind of heresy. You don't go out and play your own conference for preseason, and we do a lot of that, and so we get to see each other in the preseason a fair amount. And I think we look around and we all look back at each other and say, man, it's going to be tough this year. There's a lot of good teams. So, we're working hard, but we're excited for it.
Yeah, well, and not only talking about your conference schedule, but non-conference right off the bat, you're playing UCLA at home, you're playing BYU at home. Just how excited are you to get those teams in your gym?
Yeah, we're definitely excited. Definitely excited. We played BYU out at their place more or less same weekend really early on last year. UCLA, Pepperdine's coming in that next weekend, but also NJIT and Harvard. So we feel real good. Long Beach later on in the year. Penn State, George Mason. We feel really good about what we're doing schedule-wise to play the best teams out in the country, and be it at our place, or we'll go out and play them at their place, whatever it is. But I think we'll have a real good sense of where we are in the world, and it's good to know where the bar is. Whether you're the one setting it or the bad guys are. I think it's good for a team, especially a younger team, to kind of know that stuff. And we feel real good with what we're setting ourselves up for schedule-wise. So we're excited for that.
Yeah. And Coach, final question, we'll let you go on this. I know this year you guys are, as a team, participating in the Movember event. Can you just talk a little bit about it, and if people want to help contribute, what they can do?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start by saying my mustache is probably the worst every single year of everybody on the team. So I'm not a fantastic, flag bearer for the whole thing, because my mustache, you got to get pretty close to see this thing. But it was our 5th year now, I think, of the campaign. We have an alumni now who is a cancer survivor, but was a former student athlete, and we've done it every year. We've raised I want to say upwards of $15,000. In the 5 years, 4 years we've done it so far. And I think via our social media, we'll be sending out links, stuff like that. But it's a great opportunity or avenue for our guys to get involved, and I think to look outward a little bit. The world spins pretty quick, and we all kind of get involved with our day to day. And I think it's good for guys to take a second and step back and kind of be thankful either for our good health or be aware of the folks who are fighting and surviving some tough circumstances. So it's been cool in that regard, and we'll go out and we'll do some awareness stuff and a couple fundraising activities. And at the end of the day, worst case, we grow some real bad